For those starting from scratch, what are the first steps to securing SBA financing for a franchise startup?
FTD, get the franchise disclosure document. Set up a call by going to bookwithbo.com and book an SBA discovery call. And then we get on the phone, or actually we get on Zoom, and you have your FTD handy, and we just talk, Bill, what franchise are you looking at? Oh, you're looking at 1 hour heating and air conditioning. Okay, great. Are you doing one territory? No, I'm going to do 3 territories. What do you think the investment range is? I think it's about 380,000. Great. Generally, you're going to need about 20% down payment or equity injection, and you're going to need about 10% post-close liquidity. So you need, 38,000 left over after you put your down payment down in reserves. That's what the banks are going to look for in general. It's not a hard set rule, but one bank in particular that I work with the most, that's their guidelines. And then you're going to have outside income that supports outside debt. Unless we can show in our projections, we can build in a salary. Sometimes I can get that to work because some people transition, they don't have W-2. It's easier if you have W-2 income today. Then your tax returns, you have good credit. How's your utilization? Generally we want utilization under 30%, meaning your high credit card is $10,000. You owe less than $3,000. Talked to a guy today. He went through a divorce, and he's like, my credit's at 690 right now. I'm at what's your utilization? I'm at 90. I'm like, well, I can't tell because we got to run this through SBSS, which is a credit scoring model that SBA uses that FICO created for them. And utilization is a big thing on your credit. This guy probably had 800 credit scores, but he went through a divorce, and he's got 300 grand cash. He could pay it down, but he's like, I don't want to because I'm, starting a business. So I called the bank that I was going to bring the deal to, and they're like, well, if he might score, he might not. It's hard to say, but if he doesn't score, we have to wait 30 days to Now, could I bring the deal somewhere else? Probably, but this bank's really good. They do interest only for the first 9 months. It's a better deal for him. So I think I got to see what he wants to do, but we'll probably try. I might even try a different bank just to give him his options. But the point is utilization is important. Even if your credit score is good, I'm going to ask you that question. From there, then we know based on the franchise you're buying, because depending on the franchise, we might go to one bank versus the other. There's different reasons. Knowing your credit score, knowing your available capital and your liquid reserves. Usually, most banks want to see that you live in the area where you're going to start this franchise. If not, we have to take it to a different bank that wouldn't care, but most of them will. And all that in place, it's probably not too hard to get the deal done.
How much can SBA loans typically cover for franchise startups, and are there specific industries that get approved more easily?
If it's on the SBA directory as an approved franchise, they discontinued it, but we still use it, so that makes it easier. If they're well established, usually it's easier. And sometimes, there's a staffing company in the corporate office pays the wage for the temporary workers, and that makes them ineligible because it's considered an employee, and that's a no-no in SBA guidelines. So knowing if it's an eligible franchise or not is important. But generally, it's easier from a time standpoint if you're not doing a big brick and mortar location with a build out, because you need your lease in place if you're getting a physical location. So that's always time consuming. So a home-based business model is so easy to close because all you need is a business license. So business license, general liability insurance, all these things, the faster you get it, the easier it is to close. So generally, those are the things that slow up the process the most. So it's easier to fund a home-based business model that doesn't have brick and mortar location in general. Yeah, SBA loans cover 80 to 90% of the total costs. Some banks are at 80, some are at 90. Majority are at 80. The biggest franchise lending bank does 80% of total costs. If it's small ticket, we do 90% with one of the banks we work with.
What documents and financials should aspiring franchise owners prepare to maximize their chances of getting an SBA loan?
Form 413, that's a financial statement, but I would wait because some banks have their specific forms. A resume, 3 years of tax returns, current paycheck, copy of your driver's license, LLC documents, articles, incorporation, all that good stuff, EIN letter from the IRS with your EIN number on it, bank statement showing your down payment for the franchise fee if you already made it. We're going to paper trail the funds, where how you made it, anything you've paid so far for the franchise, the sources and uses, which basically outlines the cost of everything, and that's the total project cost, franchise fee, working capital, down payment for car, yada yada yada, insurance in place, or getting, have your insurance agent ready with the policy draft. If you need a physical location, get a draft copy of the lease. Any vehicles, we need to know, get the invoices for those if you're going to lease it or buy it. Generally, those are the things you need.
What are some unique financing options available for franchise startups beyond traditional SBA?
Rob's rollover. So you have an eligible retirement account. Typically, it's from a previous employer. You can do what's called a Rob's rollover. They set up a C corp for you. They roll a retirement into that. That can be an equity injection for a down payment for an SBA loan, or if you had enough in there, you just fund the whole thing with your retirement account. And then the nice thing is you don't have a debt on it, and the money you earn goes back into your company. It doesn't have to go back into your retirement account necessarily. I mean, it goes into your retirement account, but your retirement account owns the C corp. So a lot of people that are not getting great returns look at doing that. But also, you got to be careful, right? If you're putting your life savings, you have a $500,000 eligible retirement account, and then you invest it into a franchise, and that franchise runs to the ground. So I would advise you not to put all your money into something if that's your life savings. I would much rather you get some sort of financing like SBA. And also, I think depending on if you want to live off the cash flow, sometimes those retirement accounts aren't the best thing for you. So always consult a CPA. But also, I think I'd rather have that retirement account, because it's hard to go after somebody's retirement account if something ever happened, versus what's the worst case. You would never want to default on a federal loan, a federal guaranteed loan, but I'd rather have that 500 grand for a rainy day. So that's the thought process. There's also alternative financing. You can also put an equity line of your house. You can also get conventional financing. So there are other options, but SBA is by far, in my opinion, the best. Hi guys, Bo Exine here, and I'm with Baby Bo. Baby Bo is just a little over 4 months. He's my first child, my wife and I. So if you want to create legacy for your family, I highly suggest you go to our Business Ownership Summit. You can find all the events we're doing. Primarily, they're all free. You can go to boexstein.com/events. And I hope to see you at one of our events. We teach business ownership, how to leverage SBA financing, tax strategies. I'm not a CPA and an attorney, but we bring CPAs on. You're going to learn why everyone should own a small business. So I hope you attend. Go to boexstein.com/events. I'll see you at the next one.
Could you share a story of how SBA funding transformed someone's business journey, especially in the early days?
I think it's transformed many people, right? Like you take somebody who has never owned a business. So I helped a couple. My colleague was the franchise consultant, and they had gotten declined at another franchise brokerage, let's call it, that does SBA financing. And they said, "Oh, you don't have enough liquidity." They were a younger couple, and they bought a handyman, invested into a handyman franchise. And they got declined because the other brokerage said, "Oh, you don't have enough liquidity." And I knew that the bank I work with that specializes in these small loans wouldn't be as stringent. And sure enough, went through like that. And now they were just having a baby, their first child. So that was rewarding. I didn't make a ton of money. It's a very small loan, but it was rewarding because we can help people day in and day out in that same situation. We also help a lot of people that are getting out of the military financing. A lot of military vets, they, for whatever reason, they love franchises, and most of the franchisors always are looking for those type of people because they're really good at running playbooks, and they're very disciplined in general. I'm talking in generals because not all people are all things, but yeah, specific to that couple, that was really cool because I think their out of pocket was like 13 or 14,000, and they didn't have much in reserve. But we can help everybody, and so like I think about them having a new child. And now I think the wife was going to run the business full time and the husband would still work in the W-2. So we can help you. Like if you're a married couple, for example, maybe your plan is both of you to get out of the business, but we would set a plan to get one of you out first, and then the other, you still have the stability of the W-2. And then once the business ramps up, you can both run that and then, invest in more territories. They were buying a handyman company, or they bought a handyman company. Perhaps they buy a painting company, right? They can start scaling. So I think if you use the tools in franchising, you don't have to be the biggest entrepreneurial person in the world, because you're really investing into a system. You're just going to own that particular territory. So that was just one story. There's lots of stories of how we can help people. We helped a guy, it wasn't a franchise, but he had an idea for a green, and they only sold cars that were green, so electric vehicles. And he bought a building. It was like a $3.5 million deal. So those type of things are like game changers for people, because you could tap into SBA and you could do bigger deals as well. For this guy, he was somewhat successful, but that was a big step to go and buy a $3.5 million building or whatever it was. So lots of stories from executive type people to the people that probably would have never gotten into a business if they didn't get into a franchise, because they didn't have the skill sets maybe, or the courage to do it. But when you go into a franchise, a good system, it's like you have a team and you have a coach, and like your chance of failure is a lot less. So that's why I like franchising.
So one last question. You mentioned military. Do a lot of franchisors offer the military any like special financing?
Yeah, they usually give there's usually discounts for vets. So it's another good thing. And one of the banks I work with actually gives better interest rates, like on the margin for SBA, because SBA is prime plus margin. You get a lower margin. So huge perks. I mean, you also have the VA loan for home loans. So I know a lot of people who got started, they bought a house 100% financing with a VA loan, right? And then I think you have to either sell it. I think you can only have one loan at a time. Maybe you can have two. Then they move in and use the VA loan again, right? Like, and then they built a rental portfolio that way. Then they're like, oh, now next step is let's get a franchise. I get little discounts and things like that. And so use the tools that we all have around us. And that's what makes our country great, is that we have these tools that a lot of countries don't have. And so that's why I encourage people to get the knowledge to be able to utilize these tools, and then understand the potential tax benefits of being a small business owner. Because you see in the news right now about raising taxes, doing this and that. Well, just understand the tax code. Anybody can. And so you can probably go into ChatGPT and say, what's the top 10 tax advantages of being a small business owner? It's going to just tell you right now. And then you just go, how do I implement? Oh, and then get a good CPA. So that's my advice.
If you're looking to acquire a business, stop scrolling on Biz Buy Sell and visit franchiseresalelistings.com. We'll do a customized search. You can get on our weekly distribution where we're sending new inventory weekly to your inbox. So visit franchiseresalelistings.com and opt in today. See you there. Hey guys, Bo Exian here. If you enjoyed what you saw, please subscribe to this channel. We talk all things financing. I've been in the lending industry for over 20 years, and I'm happy to answer your questions and provide great content.